Hi, my name is John Beyer, and in this little video I'm going to show you some of the main changes and differences in the new Office 2007 and 2010 suite. As you know, the agency is moving to make Office 2007 the standard that we're all going to have to use. And if you had a chance to go into Office 2007, you'll find out that it's a lot different in terms of the way things are laid out and where those commands are located. So I hope that this little video will give you a quick and dirty introduction to the differences in Office 2007. Let's start off by looking at the most conspicuous difference, which is what was referred to as the ribbon bar. The ribbon bar, also referred to as the ribbon, is this sequence of commands that you'll find across the top of the screen here. Now, unlike previous versions of the software, we are now going to switch from pull-down menus to tab across the screen. So in previous versions, you'd have to select a pull-down menu, go down that pull-down menu options, select what you want, and maybe even get another pull-down menu that you would have to go and find your commands that you are interested in, which would be buried somewhere down there in these pull-down menus. The new version of the software tries to take the important commands that were buried in those pull-down menus and bring them up and put them right on the user interface. And they have done that with the ribbon bar. And you'll also notice that the labels for the tabs are not the same as the labels in the pull-down menus of previous versions. For example, we have Home, Insert, Page Layout, References, etc. And you'll also notice, for example, and I'll get to this on another video, that there's no File menu. I'll talk about that a little later in a subsequent video to find out how you save, load, and get new documents in this new interface. But for the time being, let's look at the ribbon bar. The ribbon bar, as I mentioned, is composed of various tabs, and on each one of these tabs there are commands and options associated with the title of that tab. For example, to see layout information, such as using themes and adjusting margins, you would go to the Layout tab. If you're interested in mailing labels and things of that nature, then you would go to the Mailings tab, and it would have all the features that you are interested in associated with that particular function. Like the previous versions of Office or Word, those items that don't apply at this particular time are grayed out. And of course, the most important commands that you're liable to use most frequently, Microsoft has decided to put them on the Home tab. So let's go to the Home tab. And as you can see, probably one of the most frequently used commands are those associated with changing and modifying fonts and cutting and pasting information. So they have put the cut and paste information here on the main Home tab, along with information on how to format and change your fonts, modify your paragraphs, and also a new area, the ability to have different styles. So let's start off by looking at the fonts area. The fonts area is what you'd normally expect, and it has information dealing with the fonts, obviously. Bold, italics, color of the font, highlights, all these kind of things. But one of the new features in all of the Office Suite applications is that when you put your cursor over an icon or a command, it will tell you what the command is, give you a description of the command, and also let you know what the keyboard shortcut is. Well, this is very useful if you want to learn the keyboard shortcuts, or if you see an icon or a command on the ribbon bar and you don't know what it does. Simply move your cursor over that command and the program will tell you what that command is. And usually it sometimes has something like this one where we're at color font. It not only tells you what the command is, It also gives you the option of pressing the F1 key for context-sensitive help, which means it'll take you to the help section and you don't have to type in font color. It will already be at that location dealing with a particular command, which is font color, which saves you some time in searching, for example. Another interesting feature is that sometimes when you have a bunch of commands, and you can see that they're grouped together in what are called groups, that the commands listed may not contain all the command options available for that group. For example, in fonts, there may be some additional items or options that are not obvious or not placed on the ribbon bar. In that case, sometimes a group will have this little button here called a dialog box launcher. And when you click on the dialog box launcher, it brings up a dialog box very similar to the dialog box of previous versions of the software. And here you can find additional options and commands that are not available on the menu or on the ribbon bar. For example, here we are on fonts, and you can see we have an option for shadow fonts. We have embossed or engrave, or we can change everything to all capitals or small letters. And these items, for example, are not on our ribbon bar. So the dialog box launcher is very useful if you need to have a command and it's not listed, but you know that a previous version of the software did in fact have that command. Now some of the groups, paragraph and styles, as you can see, do have dialog box launcher buttons. So again, if I click on one of these, it gives me information about widows and orphans, hyphenation, and spacing and things that are not available on the main ribbon bar. Now on some of these, you will see on the Insert tab here, some of these groups don't have dialog box launchers. Matter of fact, none of them here have dialog box launchers, which means that the commands themselves are all that's available. And sometimes when you open one of these commands or options, you will get additional tabs that are context sensitive to the particular item you selected. But we'll look at that at another time. Let's go back to the home. Another new feature of Office 2007 is this idea of styles. And styles are a font, a size, a color, and various other formatting commands that are combined together to give you a particular style. And there are a bunch of styles that have been put together by Microsoft that you have available to you, or if you want to create your own style, you can do that too. Now, one of the new features of Office is that as you put your cursor over a style, for example, the document that you are looking at then implements that style without you having to click on it. So as I move my cursor across, you can see that the styles change. If we go down here and click down on this little down arrow, it will show all the styles that we currently have available at this time. So as I mentioned before, as I move my cursor across, those styles are displayed. If I say, oh, I like that one, then I'll click on it and it will make it permanent and apply it throughout my whole document. So this is one of the new features in Office. Now let's look at some of the interface changes. And over here you can see we have the find and replace options that were previously buried down in pull down menus, now displayed up front on the ribbon bar. We have a little button over on the upper right hand corner of the screen above the scroll bars called the View Ruler button, and as we click that we can turn the ruler on and off. Many people like this because it's a very easy way of changing your margins and indents and things of that nature. We also have our standard way of moving through a document, which is moving down a page at a time, or up a page at a time. And we have this little button here, a little round thing, which allows us to browse through our document using something other than just the page. So we can browse based on the edits that we've made, or headings. We can go from heading to heading, or graphic to graphic, or just look at our endnotes or our footnotes, or from one comment to another. So we have this option, which we didn't have in previous versions of the program. Another new feature is that the zoom options are now up front and on the main screen. And as you can see here, we have two little buttons, a plus and a minus. And if I click on, let's say, the minus one, we reduce the size of our document, and we do so in increments of 10%. And we also have, in addition to the buttons, we have a little slider, a zoom slider, in which we can click on that and slide it to the left or right to change the size of our document. In addition to the zoom, we also have up front our layouts. So we're now looking at the print layout. I'm down here on the lower part of the screen. We also have a full screen reading layout, and when we get into this format, it kind of gives us a different kind of window on our document, and we can scroll through the document with the arrow keys up at the top, or we can look at different other view options, such as we can view 2 pages at a time, or let's go back to our view 1 page at a time. And we also have other kinds of options to view our documents. We can look at the tracked changes, we can look at showing the comments and various options associated with that. Let's go back to our main display. In addition to the full screen reading, we can also look at what it would look as a web page if we saved it in HTML and then viewed the document in a browser. We also have an outline view and a draft view. Let's go back to the default page layout. So we have a number of options that are available on the main screen that we didn't have before. So as you can see, Microsoft Office 2007 and 2010 have a lot of new features and new layouts in the way that they display the commands, particularly in the ribbon bar and some of the interface changes that you see on the main screen here. Now in subsequent videos I'm going to go into some other areas, including the Microsoft button and the quick launch toolbars. I didn't mention it, but if you go into any of these applications, all those toolbars, by the way, that you're familiar with and may have used are no longer there. But I'll talk to you in a subsequent video on how you find the commands and create your own toolbar in the new versions of this program. So I hope this is helpful, and I refer you to some of the additional videos that I put together for additional help and support in learning Office 2007.